So we're sitting at the DDS. Is it DDS? Yeah, Digital Dentistry Society meeting in Joburg. I'm here with Riaan Wolfaardt. For those of you who don't know him, I first saw him at a ITI little congress in Port Elizabeth where you presented. He's big into implantology. I think that's your game. Also digital CEREC driven, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
You're also part of the Implant and Aesthetics Academy with Howard Kluckman.
That's it.
And then you're on your way to the World Triathlon Games, is that right?
Yeah, I qualified in January of this year, 2019, to go to the 70.3, which is a half Ironman competition in my age group, which is 50 to 54. And what it entails is every country in the world has got their Ironman competition or half Iron, and depending on your position or your time, for that matter, you qualify to go represent your age group at World Champs this year, Nice in France in September.
Is it for the country though, or are you doing it for yourself?
No, it's not for the country. Although when you go there, it is a South African delegation, but it's not for South Africa per se.
So you don't get South African colours or
Not at
represent
all.
South Africa?
Not at
Okay.
all.
And how does that fit in with Kona, the World Triathlon Games?
So Kona is full iron World
Okay.
Champs, and it's always in Kona, Hawaii,
Okay.
and the half iron differs every year. In fact, last year it was in South Africa in PE.
Oh, actually, I remember. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, Riaan, the podcast is about. It's called More Than Dentistry, and I think our listeners are 25 to 35-year-old dentists, maybe students who's just qualified or busy qualifying. So, the idea is to talk about your journey in dentistry and just learn a little bit more. There's guys like you. I think what I try and do is get general dentists who's doing amazing things, like you and like us. I interviewed Mark Bowes earlier today, and that's the kind of guys the young people look up to and need advice from. In my opinion, I've seen mentoring playing quite a big part in my life. And there's a lot of dentists out there without mentors, and something like a podcast they can listen on the way to work and find mentorship and a thing like this. So when we're talking, keep that in mind, that we're talking to a younger crowd with not necessarily all the experience that you've got. And so the idea is to kind of motivate those guys and try and get them to maybe look past the medical aid setup where so many of them are stuck in, and give them some motivation to get out there and do amazing things.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you just about your journey in dentistry. Where did you study, and how did you get to where you are now?
So initially, I started out dentistry per se, and then I wanted to shift over to medicine, and I actually applied to do it, and I got an entry into it. And the reason why I stuck to dentistry is because my brother qualified as a dentist, and I was kind of looking at him, and I was thinking, I'm quite good with my hands. I enjoy biology, and I kind of shifted back to the dentistry thing.
Okay. Where did you study at
I studied at Tukkies, pre-graduate. That's where I started out, and later on I did some diplomas through a couple of institutions like Stellenbosch and also the Implant Academy. But what kind of drove me into where I am today on the surgical side and the reconstructive side is, when you finish dentistry, you have no idea, where your interest really lies, and it takes a couple of years to set a good foot into where your passion lies, and I kind of broke it up into, I'm going to give myself 2 years of endo and 2 years of ortho and 2 years of max fax and so forth and so forth. But I was very privileged when I finished dentistry to immediately become a surgical assistant to a max fax. And that I did for 15 years.
Oh, really?
And really that's where my interest in surgery started.
Okay.
And that was before the time of even implants.
Okay.
So I grew with implantology and reconstructive surgery from the beginning.
I can imagine the experience you got by seeing those guys working is obviously immense.
Yeah, look, there's almost nothing that I haven't seen, and some of it they haven't done in, MaxFax and even Imperio for that matter.
Yeah, a lot of guys that I speak to they're frustrated in dentistry and then they want to end up specializing in maxillofacial or perio. And what would your advice be to them?
Look, a specialist once told me, what's the difference between a specialist and a generalist? It's just attention to detail.
Yeah.
Now, that's an easy thing to say, but at the end of the day, you do need the knowledge, you do need the experience. Not everyone can specialize. I did want to specialize, and I actually started my primaries in maxillofacial, but I did not get the opportunity to specialize at that stage. So what I did is I went out and I said to myself, I am going to specialize myself through certain programs and processes until I'm at the level that I want to be. And that's exactly what happened.
And there's nothing that stops you from doing it.
There's nothing that stops you. As a generalist, you can specialize yourself in any leg of dentistry for that matter.
So you would say give yourself 4 or 5 years doing general dentistry, see what you like, and then pivot into that direction and go for it.
To be around a dentist, if you are only good in orthodontics, you're not around a dentist. But if you get your teeth into dentistry per se and you develop that passion, you actually love all parts of dentistry. It's not just that one part, but you kind of specialize yourself into that one part eventually.
I don't think there's a dentist that can do everything amazingly well. So you kind of have to decide. That's where the change for me came, is when I started saying no to a few things. I said no to dentures and kids. And as soon as I did that, that was like that 80-20 rule. 80% of my frustrations was out the window by just leaving those two things.
Oh, absolutely. The other thing that I can say is that you have to surround yourself with good people. Mentors, you spoke about mentoring. Absolutely. If your passion is surgery, don't, go to the pedodontic department and get a mentor there. It's not going to work.
But guys struggle to get mentors, I think. Like, imagine you guys sitting in East London working in a Medicross. The guys working with you are not really crazy in love with what they do. They just try and make a living. Where do you go and find a mentor? What would your advice be?
So mentors doesn't come to you.
Yeah.
That's one thing. When you sit in an audience and you see someone lecturing and you would like to be that person, then my advice is to contact that person and tell him that. Say, listen, is there a way that I can, with your help, maybe, start a program where either you or someone like you can start to mentor me? And I promise you, I'm mentoring a lot of people. And, you don't have to sit next to a person to mentor him. At the moment, digital platform, people send me WhatsApps of cases, and then we start to discuss. That is mentoring.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so easy. You can speak to anyone. I've found with Instagram, I've been following a lot of guys, and if I like them, I start messaging them. And it's amazing the friendship that's grown out of that. That's how I met Sam, that's running the show here today, and guys like Jamil Gardi, I don't know if you know him.
Absolutely.
So I speak to him on a weekly basis, and I just kind of started by sending him a message and reaching out to him, and most people are very open to it and very keen to share knowledge.
That's the point of this. It doesn't come to you. You have to go to
exactly them. But I think in my life I've done a lot of courses and I've been to a lot of things, but the most value I've gotten was by being in a mentorship group. Like, we've got a nice study group in the Eastern Cape. Absolutely. And I've learned more there than anything else.
Also, you need to trust the people around you. Sometimes people hide their knowledge for some other reason. That's not a mentor.
Yeah, you don't want to spend time with those guys anyway.
Absolutely.
You can quickly go to a guy and sit with him and say, can I spend an afternoon in your practice? If they say no, just don't waste your time and go, there's 10 other guys down the road that's gonna want to mentor you.
Yeah, and also don't stick to one mentor. There's what I found with the varsity that I went to, they have a certain way of thinking, and then you go to another varsity, there's another way. And both of them are not wrong or right at the same time, but they add to your knowledge. Absolutely.
So when I first started doing implants, I enjoy implants as well. When I first started doing it, I kind of had this imposter syndrome, and specialists looking down at you placing implants. I think it's gotten better over the past 10 years, but in the beginning it was really hectic for me. What's your thoughts around that, and where do you think a general dentist should be?
Yeah, look, like I said, I started even before implants were a thing, and I got the wind right in the face because I was a generalist and I was placing implants. The thing is, when you put your hat into the ring, you have to know what you're talking about, and you have to make sure that you are placing and planning at the same level as the specialist. Or better. Absolutely. Why did I start placing implants? Because I was not happy sometimes when I got the implants back. I could not restore. And so the thing for me was if I wanted it better, I needed to do it myself. So absolutely, you can't just start placing implants and doing procedures that's at specialist level without having the knowledge. Obviously, the experience comes later. But you can't just wing it. You know, to be honest, and that is also where mentors will help you. A specialist mentor will stand next to you, hold your hand, and he'll guide you. If he's not doing that, then he's not the mentor that you want.
And the thing about a guy like that is you're going to refer the difficult cases to him anyway, and that's the stuff you want. So you're going to start with the lower sixes. That's fairly straightforward, and you're going to refer the rest. And as you build your confidence, then you'll start taking up the bigger stuff, but you need to know where your level lies.
The ceiling is the thing.
And I think the cool thing is now with all this digital stuff we've been talking about the whole day, it's so predictable. If you take a CBCT, you take a scan, you do a guided surgical guide. It's fairly predictable. Doing a lower 6, you should be able to do it in the right position and stay away from all the dangerous areas.
Yeah, absolutely. The important part there is to have the right equipment, hardware, to be able to use the software to plan. But the planning is one thing, the execution is the other thing. You know, a lot of people look at the planning and they think, you know, that's the be-all and end-all. But eventually that goes into the mouth, which is an environment on its own. And to be able to execute that planning is really where, you know...
But that's where experience is going to come in eventually.
Absolutely.
Stuff that Sam Omar was talking about now, like immediate loading and immediate placement and all of those kind of things. Is that something you're into at the moment, or what's your protocol?
Yeah, look, when you do implants, there's a lot of decision making. In my practice, a lot of implants are immediate extraction, immediate placement, immediate loading. And the difference between, or for me, where the big difference is on what kind of implant surgeon you are, is on the high aesthetic cases. If you have a high smile line, biotype thin, then it's unforgiving. And in those cases, actually immediate extraction, immediate placement, immediate loading is almost the go-to if it's indicated, to be honest. And that's where the knowledge and experience also comes, because eventually that patient will get a restoration, and initially it looks fine. But a year or two down the road, when things start to go wrong, it will show you where your thought process or your execution was wrong. So, but yes, I am fully into immediate extraction, immediate placement, immediate loading.
Also, socket shield. You guys teach socket shield at Academy. You do that regularly?
Yes, I use it on a daily basis. Wherever I can, I will retain root. If it's for a pontic, I will try and retain the whole root, or partially. And if it's for a anterior, especially, I would retain. Even molars, I would retain the buccal part.
That's what I find interesting. I thought it's only for the anterior region. I've seen these lower posterior, all the posterior cases. It's amazing the results you get. And the prosthesis eventually, that looks just... So my first posterior one I've done this week, where I actually left the distal root of a lower 6, like a EME section almost, and I just submerge the root. And it's amazing the result you get afterwards. There's more than enough space for the implant, and the prosthesis is just amazing.
Yeah, look, there's obviously a steep learning curve on the aesthetic sides especially. How big the shield must be, you know, how much space between the implant and the shield. There's so much criteria, but at the moment, you know, we have guidelines. There's a protocol. But when you start to do socket shield, you need absolute magnification in illumination. It's not something that you kind of thumb suck.
Just to be on that topic, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing a dentist should have is magnification and illumination. If you want to be a better dentist, just get loops. You'll be a better dentist immediately.
Absolutely. You don't know what you're not seeing.
Exactly. And it's amazing how many people don't use loops.
Yeah.
If you ask a crowd, it's like maybe 10%.
Yeah, look, on the endo side, if you don't have a CBCT and some sort of magnification and illumination, then you're not really sure what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's worth saying with respect, because we used to do it for many years without.
Yeah.
But now that I do have it, I know exactly how much different my endos are versus what I did.
Just to bring it back now to a 25-year-old guy sitting in a Medicross, it doesn't have to be expensive to buy loops. You can buy loops on eBay for 700 Rand.
Absolutely.
So that's always the excuse, but I don't want to buy Zeiss loops because they're 60 grand or whatever. But for 750, I've used those things for 5 years. It's amazing. You can see so much better. That light you get with it, I think it costs 200 Rand. You can see everything. So price is not the issue. You just buy the stuff on eBay. It takes 2 months to deliver and just use something. And just on CBCT and implant placement, you don't have to own the equipment. There's always someone down the road you can send your case to, or you'll send your patient to. So
outsourcing is really the name of the game to get your foot in the door.
yeah,
It's CBCT, many people can't afford it, although it really pays for itself. But within a medical aid kind of practice, if you have multiple clinicians, it's easier. If you're a single clinician, it'll keep you awake at night because it's an expensive hobby.
Yeah.
But if you can outsource it, all you need is a file.
Yeah.
And that file is driven by hardware that someone else can own. That's true.
Yeah. So the thing is that you can use all these fancy tools. You don't have to own them. You send it to someone, but use them when you plan your cases. Don't not use them just because you don't have it.
Yeah, and in fact, if you're not using them, then you should question, if you should be doing the procedure. In any case.
Exactly. Since I've got the CBCT, I've just realized how stupid I was working without the CBCT. Like every single case, you think it's a straightforward case, and you take a scan, and it's amazing what the bone is doing. So I think the main thing is you don't want to scare people off. I think that's what the whole thing of the academy is, not to scare dentists off, but to encourage them. And that's what I found by doing other implant courses. You walk away there and you feel, shit, I actually don't want to place implants because I might kill this person. But with the implant academy, you walk out and you feel, I'm going to go place my first implant now.
Yeah, you look, we try and instill confidence.
Yeah.
And confidence only comes from knowledge and experience. So you don't have the experience, but now we've given you the knowledge. And then to be able to utilize that knowledge, you need some form of hardware again, and then the experience will come. I've been placing implants for many years, and to me it's still a bungee jump. But at least I know there's a rope. It's not a free fall. At some stage the rope will catch me, and that's really what experience brings. But you need the tools.
Yeah, and so let's just go back to this guy. He's 25, or this girl is 25. She wants to get into implantology. What do you recommend is the first step she takes?
Well, there is a basic level of knowledge that you need, and that's really a surgical knowledge. And you need kind of to say to yourself, it's not for everyone to be a surgeon. It's not for everyone to be a restorative guy. Sometimes you can be a surgeon and a restorative person. So, but you won't know until you actually start the process. So I would always advocate to get into a program like with the academy, where people start to teach you the whole flow of how to plan, what to utilize with planning, what kind of hardware you need, all the companies that are involved with the hardware, and then in a very safe environment to be guided, placing these implants firstly in dummy models or on animal models. We usually utilize sheep or pig. so that you can just get the feel of what it's about. And then you can kind of decide, do you want to take this a step further into the mouth? Some people decide they never want to do the surgery, but they can do the planning. So to get back to your question is get into a program. Don't just read a book.
Yeah.
The book is almost dead. You can utilize any, or you can go onto the internet and get the most current literature on implantology and surgery and everything. But you really need some guidance. And the guidance needs to come from a reputable source. So there's many companies and people giving these day courses or weekend courses. So make sure that the one that you pick is actually going to make a difference. And yes, you have to spend some money on it. That's for sure.
And then you have to take the next step and get your hands dirty and actually place the implants.
Absolutely.
You have to be a little bit bold at some stage and just start doing the stuff.
Yeah, and the longer you wait after you've done your course, the more difficult it gets. Yeah. So I usually tell people, give yourself a timeline. Say within 6 weeks, I will be placing my first implant.
And that's the cool thing about the academy is like I said, you're super encouraging to place, not discouraging people. Some of the other courses I've done, which were like 2-year diplomas, no one wanted to do implants afterwards because everyone was scared of it. So try and get to people that can motivate you to do it. Yeah. I actually met my wife at the Implant Academy course, the basic course, 10 years ago.
So that's another reason. Ask your money back; there was value there. Well done.
Listen, I don't want to keep you much longer. I want to talk about the podcast called More Than Dentistry. So I want to talk about other stuff you do in life. We actually, when was it, 3 weeks ago, we were at that course together, and we had a couple of beers. And Riaan said to me, "Dentistry is not his life; it's a means to his life." And that makes a lot of sense. I think all of us get bogged down in dentistry, and it stresses you out. But there's actually way more than life than just dentistry. So just tell us about the stuff you do outside dentistry.
Yeah, look, I have the kind of personality, whatever I pick up, it needs to be done properly. And obviously, I'm a highly motivated athlete. I come from a tennis background, and then I started to dabble into running, trail running specific. I did my stint there. I actually, in my age group, I won a couple of things in the country. So that kind of success motivates you to more success. Yeah, and then eventually I got into triathlon, which to me, the way that I handle stress is through physical activity. Now, the passion for dentistry is always there, but it's kind of the discipline of the discipline that gets me. Dentistry is so disciplined, and at the level of detail, it needs discipline, but so does triathlon and any sport where you start to compete, because you need to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 7 days a week, and through winter it's not so easy. But if there's a goal, and there's another thing, you have to goal set. My goal in triathlon this year was to qualify for World Champs, and I worked very hard while people were having their holidays in December. I was up and about. And dentistry is the same. That's really the golden thread. I also have a daughter that was the national champion in rhythmic gymnastics. So I think I kind of gave her that motivation as well. I think she saw that discipline does the thing. Outside my sport, I am a lover of wine. Aren't we all? Yeah. I love a social. I love art and culture. I'll go to the ballet. I really enjoy classical music. I play the guitar. So I'd like to think I'm a well-rounded person. I love fine food.
Okay.
So I try.
Yeah, we should maybe touch on that topic of food as well. You're also a vegan or a vegetarian, aren't you?
Yeah, look, I'm a banting pescatarian. So that means I don't take any carbohydrates. That includes anything from bread to pasta to potatoes to any sugars. I obviously don't take meat, but I do love fish. Okay. So I am a fat-based person where I take my energy from plant-based fats and
So milk
fish.
and butter?
I'm not a vegan, so
Okay.
I do take milk and
Okay.
butter. But I try and clean live and clean eat.
Okay, interesting. I think we're going to wrap it up there. Is there anything else you want to talk about? You want to tell us a story about the wine you bought for so much money that...
So a quick one is I was in a restaurant the other day in a wife farm, and I always ask for their flagship. And they brought the flagship, and I said, okay, I'll take that, and I'll take a couple of other things. And the guy said, so the price of the wine is, and I said, don't tell me the price of the wine. I've already decided to buy it. And when the bill came, it was close to 6,000 rand for the little parcel, and the wine was just over 4,500 rand. So
Have you had the wine? Have you tried it?
no. That wine it's laid to rest a little bit, so that both the bottle shock of the wine and the shock that I had from
Is it settled?
if that settles. But look, there's no regrets.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm gonna love that wine.
Yeah, you're
and
going to have a cool story forever.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Listen, so the last take-home message you've got for a guy that's 25-year-old. A lot of guys are, I think, demotivated, wants to go abroad or do something. What can you say to us and them that's going to motivate them and get them going?
Okay, so many years ago, I didn't want to do dentistry anymore because I was going backwards financially. And then I decided to start getting out of medical aid rates, and that changed my life. Now, it's a big leap, and some people think, it's going to ruin them. But I tell you what, not doing it's going to ruin you more. So I've been a advocate of upskilling your skills and then putting a price to that.
Yeah.
And it's the value that you put to your skills that people value when they come to you. You also have to look different. Your practice has to be different, because otherwise they can just go down the road to the medical aid guy.
Yeah, I think Sam Tandar was talking about that earlier, that you've got to sell something and you've got to look the part. You can't charge and not look the part, and I think that's important. But I think the important thing is what I'm realizing is all the guys that's really enjoying their work, that's really loving dentistry and doing amazing things, are not doing it on medical aid tariffs. And the guys who's really depressed, sitting and complaining, is people sitting on medical aid tariffs trying to figure out codes to charge. So I think you should get that medical mentality away, and then amazing things happen. And in my life as well, as soon as I've started working on private rates, and I've got the confidence to sell my work, and I'm happy to charge that amount, it's amazing how people are happy to pay it.
Yeah.
And you've got to have the confidence in your work. So
Absolutely. The other thing is that I always say the money comes by itself. When you do the right thing long enough, the right things come your way. And you can't expect to tomorrow put up your price 100% and then suddenly make money. You have to show the passion, you have to live the passion, and you have to believe the passion.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people, it's about authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People look through you very quickly. You've
Absolutely.
got to listen. Riaan, thanks so much for the time. I know you want to go back and have your tea and go back to the lectures. I just want to say you're a big inspiration for me personally, and for a lot of dentists out there. And I want to thank you for your passion in dentistry and for the stuff you teach us at the academy and all over the place. So really appreciate your time, and thanks for talking to me.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for those kind words.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Okay, all right.
Good morning, Vietnam!